Existentialism has always fascinated me because the idea that our lives are pre-written or predestined and we are all here with an assigned purpose kind of made me uncomfortable. It made me feel like we had little to no control over our lives or the direction where we wanted to go. I was especially drawn towards this school of philosophy when I found myself being unhappy with the circumstances of my life or the direction that my life was taking. Now, Jean-Paul Sartre, a French philosopher, novelist, screenwriter, as well as political activist, was one of the prominent figures in the philosophy of existentialism. He was famously romantically involved with Simone de Beauvoir, his classmate and his competitor at Sorbonne University in Paris, whose routine I decided to replicate for this video.
Mais les hommes ne pensent jamais tout à fait comme les femmes.
C'est ce que vous me répétez toujours.
Oui, c'est ça.
Vous voudriez dire que vous n'avez pas confiance en moi sur ce point.
Et même vous qui êtes théoriquement, idéologiquement tout à fait partisan de l'émancipation des femmes et tout ça, eh bien vous ne partagez malgré tout pas ce qu'elles appellent, et que j'appellerai avec elles, le vécu des femmes. Il y a des choses que vous n'arrivez pas à comprendre.
Both Beauvoir and Sartre proposed this revolutionary alternative to Judeo-Christian idea or tradition that proposed that humans are all born with a preordained purpose. They rather argue that humans are born with free will and they are able to practice their free will and are not assigned any pre-written destination and are not thrown into the world with any divine plan. Simone de Beauvoir, like Sartre, was a French existentialist philosopher who used existentialism as a way to advocate for feminism. Her work, and most famously her book, The Second Sex, became the foundation for the second wave of feminism movement. Beauvoir was born in a Catholic household where she felt restricted by her parents. She was expected to marry and settle down, but she went on to reject her Catholic upbringing and decided to study at the university and write memoirs, fiction, and philosophy. As she was determined to find her own purpose, she began questioning why she was restricted by the society's ideals of being a woman if everyone deserved to freely pursue meaning. Despite her prolific writing, teaching, and activism, de Beauvoir struggled to be taken seriously by her male peers. This led her to pen down one of her most challenging works of all time, the book called The Second Sex, that would later redefine the limits of gender. Through this book, she proposed the idea that as our life's meaning, gender is not predestined. She famously wrote, "One is not born, but rather becomes a woman. And to become a woman," she famously argued, was to become the other.
Oui, c'est en somme la formule qui résume l'ensemble de mes thèses. Et ce qu'elle signifie est très simple, c'est que être femme, ce n'est pas une donnée naturelle. C'est le résultat d'une histoire.
Becoming other to Beauvoir meant labeling women as less than the men who historically defined themselves as the ideal human subjects and women as their faulty counterparts. I think Beauvoir was very ahead of her time because not only she was one of the most prominent figures for existentialism, but also the fact that she denied all the gender norms and all the societal values attached to her gender identity. She denied being restricted by her gender and she went on to pursue her goals and ambition and her career as opposed to what the society expected out of her, which was to get married, settle down, and have children. I find her theories very fascinating and intriguing and also in alignment with my own personal life because I sometimes feel very out of line with what society expects of me as one of the members of the society as well as a woman. I sometimes find myself in odds with the way the society describe success. So I think all of this was really intriguing, and then I thought to myself, maybe I should just try to replicate her routine and see what that harbors. So I tried researching about her daily ritual to kind of replicate it for this video, but there's not a lot of details about her day-to-day activities. It's very vague, it's very general. I had the framework of how she would go about her day, but it's not very specific. And so I'm just gonna try to incorporate that on my daily routine. So here's like her routine on a day-to-day basis. Simone de Beauvoir didn't really like starting her day. That was the hardest part for her, but despite that, she was still a workaholic and really enjoyed spending a lot of time just working. So she would basically start her day with a tea that she would have, and she would start working at 10 a.m. in the morning. Then she would work until lunchtime, which is at 1 p.m.
Give yourself the ability to step in.
Okay, a quick update here. It's 12, so I have 1 more hour to go. I went back to review and write my memoir that I've been writing for some time, and so that's what I've been doing. I think the first 2 hours, I think it just went by really quick, but now, because since like 12 is like my default lunchtime, I'm kind of hungry, so my brain is like not really in sync with me right now, but I'll try to stick through the routine and try to write until 1, or if I can, then I'll probably try reading some of Simone de Beauvoir's work, and we'll see. And she would usually have her lunch with her lover, Jean-Paul Sartre. Because I don't have no Jean-Paul Sartre to accompany me in this process, I'm probably gonna immerse myself in his readings and his work, because I mean, I think that just is fair to just read his work and just immerse myself into his work to just get the whole vibe, you know what I mean? An update. I had to come out 20 minutes early because my stomach was growling and I couldn't concentrate my work. I don't know how she would just work with 1 cup of tea. I don't know if she had breakfast in the first time, but I couldn't do it. So I'm here to have my lunch, and it's 12:40, so just didn't have any control. I came shamelessly. Okay, so I just finished my lunch and I was reading and also watching some videos about Jean-Paul Sartre and his theories on existentialism, as well as Simone de Beauvoir's theories on existentialism, because typically that's what Simone de Beauvoir would do, is sit down and have lunch with Jean-Paul Sartre and have a conversation. But because I can't have a conversation, I decided to just dive in deeper into their theories together. So I have thoughts. I just feel like both of their theories, I mean, I really think it's a great idea, you know, just the idea of practicing existentialism and the fact that your life is in your own control is really amazing. It just gives me more confidence, it just gives me more control and power. But I just felt like whatever theories that they suggested, it just came from a very privileged point of view and very one-sided point of view. You know what I mean? So both Beauvoir as well as Jean-Paul Sartre belonged to a dominant race at that point of time, and also came from a well-off background in a country that was still progressive, I would like to say. It really makes sense for them to kind of rebel the thought that, you know, their life is in their own hands and that they can create the meaning that they want for their own life, and they can think about all that things. But I just feel like they kind of ignored and might have overlooked the fact different people have different realities over the world, and it's not the same for everyone. Say that, you know, you were born in poverty, well, you can say that, you know, yes, you were born in poverty, you still have the choice to just co-create your life of your own and, you know, make yourself rich or something like that. But if you really put a good logical mind into it, I don't think that is possible for each and every people in the world. Like, just you have to talk about all the things like background, education, access to resources. Not everyone is privileged enough to create their own reality and create the meaning of their life. I don't think that's a privilege that all of us get. And no matter how much I want to believe in this theory and believe that, you know, this is the ultimate truth, I don't think it really applies. People of different races and different backgrounds and different culture over the world. I don't know if there's any explanation for that. I haven't looked into that yet, but like, so far from my understanding, I just felt like it was a very privileged perspective. After lunch, she would then go and socialize with her friends, see them at Parisian cafes, maybe have coffee, smoke a cigarette, and then have all these intellectual conversation. I believe their friend circle was also all of these intellectual, all scholars, thinkers, and she would take that time to just socialize and spend some time reading the newspaper and perhaps go shopping. So I'm currently in my break. I'm not gonna work for right this time, but I'm definitely gonna go talk about it with other people, or at least find some discussion online so that I can participate in the conversation, because normally Simone de Beauvoir would just go and see her friends during this time, but since it's not possible and it's not in my plan today, I probably will do that. I'll go online and try to have that conversation with people that I can find online. We'll see. I'll be back. After all that, she would then go back to her work where she left it off at about 5 p.m. I think she kind of divided her time between her own apartment and Jean-Paul Sartre's apartment because they never lived together. So then she would go to work until 9 p.m. in the night, and so that was perhaps the end of her day. I am really tired. I'm just gonna wrap it up because, also I don't feel good. I'm kind of feeling a little bit sick, so I don't think it was ideal for me to stay. And I'm just leaving a little bit early than I should, but I mean, I don't feel good, so I don't think it's a good idea anyway. Okay, so here I'm prepared to give you my verdict on how the whole Simone de Beauvoir routine applying experiment went and what did that do for me. I really felt like the overall experience so far was really good, not gonna lie. It was a very balanced form of routine. Just being able to write in the morning and then set that entire time in the day to just do errands, meet people, socialize, kind of gives you that time to think more creatively, just gives you that break. Work can get really monotonous when you're working constantly on it. So I think just like going away from it for a while and just interacting or reading something or just even taking a walk is actually very helpful. So I really like the fact that she has such a balanced work schedule. And the challenging part for me was actually coming back to the work during the nighttime. She usually started at 5 and she wrote until 9. And it was a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, challenging for me because I'm not used to really working in the night. I feel like I'm less motivated and somehow I feel more tired and don't have as much as ideas going on. I've gotta say this, like for the initial hour I did not feel really great. I did not feel like I was going somewhere with my writing. The later part of the process I just began flowing with it again. Like when I was starting to write and just bounce back in, I just felt like I was doing a good job. Overall, I feel like the writing part of it was really great. Not gonna lie, very productive. I think it's really helpful when you're trying to get some work done. Here's the thing. I think this whole process and this whole experiment of applying her routine actually led me to learn a lot of things about existentialist theory and existentialism in general. I use that time in between the break time where Simone de Beauvoir would typically just spend some time with philosophers and thinkers and all of her colleagues and friends. I use that time to kind of go and learn more about existentialism, have conversations with people that might know more about existentialism. So what I did was during this process, while I was reading through some articles and some stuff that Sartre wrote and also some philosophers on existentialism, I just felt like, I think I've already mentioned this in the first part of the video, that I just felt like their theories were very privileged point of views. I didn't feel like it was very inclusive of people from different backgrounds, and so I didn't find necessarily any explanation for for people who are living in very severe conditions and war-torn countries, for example, or countries that are suffering through poverty. And because I had all these questions, I didn't know who to talk to. I naturally went on internet, like the most reliable source of information. I found this subreddit, existentialism, and I just went there. It's kind of a subreddit where people talk about existentialism and all the theories concerning it. So I went there and I asked people like, hey, I'm just new to this existentialism theory. I just want to learn more about it. I would love to hear your opinions. What do you think about it? What do you think the takeaways are? And I also talked about like what their thoughts were on existentialism as a theory for unprivileged backgrounds and countries and societies. I had some very interesting comments on here, but I'm just gonna read the ones that I find the most interesting and kind of explains a lot more about the concerns that I had. So here's the first one that I'm gonna try to read. There's actually a lot of people writing a lot of stuff, which is very impressive. So there's this one comment that says, what have I observed in regards to existentialism in impoverished communities? In the West, for those who are in a class, so to speak, don't have the everyday concerns that the rest of the world people from the rest of the human history of basic survival. There's something dystopian about the West where there's a shadow of a sense of community that the rest of the world has. We are so caught up in our little groups where we choose a group to hate or distrust, and we never sit back and look at ourselves and thoughtlessly enjoy our existence. Why ponder the meaning of it all when you have 3 kids at home to feed because you cannot afford birth control? Why ponder the meaning of it all when you are constantly ragged from working at the factory 16 hours a day? These people are just focused on living and do not have the luxury or burden of the intrusive thought that is existential thinking. I think it was pretty interesting, honestly, the perspective. And I mean, like, I didn't even think about the working class in Western communities because I was only thinking about very unprivileged countries, and I just felt like that makes sense because I mean, I don't think people think about their meaning of life or whatever when they're trying to make their ends meet, right? I just felt it was a valid point, so I asked them for clarification, like, what do you think for situations like that where people cannot afford to think about the meaning of their life? What do people like them, what does this theory apply? Where does this theory come into play in situations like that where like literally a person doesn't have the luxury to think about their meaning of their life, right? Somebody in this comment thread suggested me to look at Man's Search for Meaning, basically a book that was written by a Nazi prisoner during the time of World War, and his perspective of making meaning out of that life being in a camp. It was very interesting. I went on to find the summary for Man's Search for Meaning, and I gotta say, it's like, it just kind of, I wouldn't say that it fully justifies what I'm talking about here. Like, I don't think it gives full justice to what the kind of point of view that I'm looking for, but it does explain that there's this one part which really stood out to me and kind of like hits a little bit of my concern. It's written by Viktor Frankl, who was one of the prisoners in the Nazi camps. And so he claims that there are 3 ways to find meaning in life: through work, through love, and through suffering. What he says is that even during the camp, like, he would try to find meaning through the memories of his wife, through love, and through suffering. And whatever things that they went through, he would try to find hopes and meaning, and at least to be in a good mental state even when he's living in that camp. And so he talks about, like, you can sit and dwell in the circumstances that are going wrong for you, or you can actually try to have a positive attitude about it. The concept much more is about positive thinking and attitude as opposed to just, you know, changing your circumstances. I wouldn't say it's exactly existentialist theory. I mean, it definitely gives, like, it justifies the theory a little bit, I would say. Nevertheless, this whole experience was learning so much about existentialism, learning about Simone de Beauvoir's and Jean-Paul Sartre's work, and Simone de Beauvoir's theories on feminism and how existentialism can affect feminism is really interesting. I really recommend that book. She has some very interesting theories on body image, on being a woman in this world, what that means, how we see ourselves, how we are wired to see ourselves, our bodies, and, you know, everything like related to that. It's very relatable in a lot of ways, especially in the modern world with social media and all these conversations regarding body image and the male gaze and everything. So I think it's very interesting, her work and her ideas and her thought, and a lot of that could be actually, someone could potentially use it and feel better about themselves. I just realized this one thing, that we just kind of forget to learn about, you know, all these things as we go about our lives and our daily work and everything, right? We just kind of forget to look into all these theories and all these fascinating thoughts that people have had over the years, and we kind of get caught up in the little things, and we kind of forget to look into or dive deeper into the meaning of our existence or everything. And I think this overall experience was kind of unlearning and learning about my purpose and my journey to find the meaning of my life. And I think because I've been so interested in finding the purpose of my life, the meaning of my life, and I've been going after it for such a long time, especially now actively than ever. So I think this routine was a very right routine to do at this point of my time, because it really aligned well with what I've been trying to do for such a long time. And so I found it really helpful. I think it was not so much for my writing, but also the fact that, you know, I am learning throughout the day. And not gonna lie, like this whole experience, I just felt like I was an intellectual, because I was like so deep into this this existentialism theory. I was reading about all these philosophers and their work, and then soaking myself into all these conversations and readings and everything. I just felt like, oh my gosh, after a long time I feel like I'm learning something, I'm actually diving in something deeper. It has been a while since I've done that, right? I don't think I've done that since school, but I definitely feel like it's a very productive routine, and just the overall experience for me was really great. So, honestly, I'm just like very fascinated by this whole theory. I think I should dive deeper into all these philosophers and philosophies as well, as I try to uncover the meaning of my life. So we'll see, but thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to comment down what do you think I should do next, or if you have any interesting thoughts about existentialism, teach me. Let's have a conversation. And yeah, I hope I see you again next time. I hope you have a good day. I'll see you next time. Ciao.